In this video, I'll show you how to provide a list of items for the user to choose from and how to offer your app in multiple languages. We'll be using the example provided by the Block 2 application. In this application, the user is presented with the list of animals, and when you click on one animal, there is a small pop-up message at the bottom which indicates the name of the animal which was picked. If I change the setting of this application, so the language is French, the name of the animals are translated, and if I click on one animal, the text of the pop-up message is translated as well. Start a new Android Studio project. Call your application Block 2. Click Next. Next again. Pick an empty activity. Next. And finish. Let's start with the XML file for the layout. There is already a text view, except that it reads hello words instead of pick an animal. So let's change that. I will edit the XML file directly. I delete hello word and I replace it by pick an animal. And here you notice this little yellow bulb here. And if I click on it, I can choose to extract a string resource. What does it mean? Let's do that. In fact, instead of hard-coding my string here, I will define it in a separate file called strings.xml. And here I will only give a pointer to this file. So my resource name, that will be the text prompt. Let's say that it's text view prompt. And then I click OK. And see that here my text is replaced by instead a reference. If you want to see what is the text of the text view, then you need to look at string in the strings.xml file and look for the string which is labeled text view prompt. So let's go to this strings XML file. You will find it here in the resource folder, in the values subfolders. Here is our strings.xml file. So double click to open it. And here you can see that we already have, in fact, two strings that are defined already. One that defines the name of the application, and the second one, the one we've defined, called text view prompt, and which values is pick an animal. And you see here that I can edit a translation for a different language using the translation editor. So let's open that up. You click here to the right on the Open Editor. Now I can add a language here by clicking on the little earth symbol, and I will add the French local. Okay, and here all the keys value which were not translated into the second language appears in red here. So I need to translate this one. I double click here and I enter the French translation for pick an animal, which is choisissez un animal. Okay, if I move back to the activity main.xml and I look at the result in the design view, here in English, maybe I should put that a little larger. In English it reads pick an animal, and if I click here on the little earth symbol, I can change the local to French, and you'll see that the text view reads now choisissez un animal. Okay, let's go back to English. And we have much more strings to define in our application, so let's do that right now. So you can either enter the string here, like that, for instance. So I need a new string Let's say the name will be a dog. Okay, and the default language in English, it should display dog. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. And I can also do the same using the translation editor. So since I'm working with a dog, let's write the French translation, which is chien. And then I can add more strings using the plus symbol here. So let's add one for the cat. In English, that will be cat. Okay, and let's translate that to chat. Next, we add a pig. In English, it translates to cochon in French. And the last one, the last animal on our list was horse, which in French is cheval. Okay, now we have all our strings which are defined. You can define strings, but you can also define arrays of a string, and that will come handful later in our application because we want to display a list, and a list can feed on an array of strings. So let's define a string array. So it's, sorry, that's string array. I need to give it a name, so let's call it I don't know, animals array. And then I need to define the different the different elements that make up this this array. Remember that before in the XML file, to refer to something defined in the strings.xml file, I'll use this construction add string / and then the name of the key. I'll do exactly the same here. I want to refer, the first element of my array will be the dog. I want to refer to this string. So I just need to write add string / and then the name of the key of this string here, which is dog. And let's do the same for the three others animals. So I've got add strings cat. I've got the item add string pig. And the last item is add string horse. Okay. Now I need to add a list view to my graphical interface. So you'll find that in the container section. I'll put it right beneath the text view. And now I need to somehow associate the array of string with the name of the different animals in it to this view, to this list view. So in order to do that, I'm gonna edit the main activity.java file now. So first I need to retrieve a reference to the list view. So I'll create a list view object. Let's call it list view animals. And then I'll use the find view by ID method to retrieve this list. Oh, sorry. ID, not list view. And now I need to create an adapter in order to feed my list view with the content of the string array we define in the strings.xml file. So in order to do that, I create an array adapter. This array adapter will contain a string or a character sequence. Let's call it adapter animals, for instance. Animals. And there is a special method to directly create an array adapter from a resource such as the strings array that we defined earlier. So you can just use create from resource, then provide a context, this, and then the name of the tab of the array you want to adapt. So it's array.animals array. And then you also need to provide the layout. Android lets you specify different way of displaying each item in your list. We'll use one of the default one, which is the simple list item. So android.r.layout.simple list item 1. Okay. So now that I have my adapter, I can feed my list with it. So list view animals dot set adapter animals. Okay, now let's look at the result on the emulator. Got my message here, my text view, pick an animal. Then I've got the list of animals. Now let's change the interface to French. So in order to do that, I need to go into the settings, look for the language and input section. And here I need to change the language here to French. Okay. Now let's go back to our application, block 2. Okay, now it's displayed in French. But you notice that when I click an item of the list, nothing happens, of course, because we didn't associate any action with that. So I'm going to show you how to do it. Let's go back to the Java code. So one way of attaching action to a view is to add a listener to this view. That's what we're going to do here. So I take the list view animals, and then I attach to it an on item click listener. So I can either define an object which implements this interface in a separate class, or I can decide that is my main activity which implements the onset item click listener like we did in the previous video, or I can just create an anonymous object here. That's what I'm going to do. New on item click listener, and I just have to define the onClick item method. So we want to display a little pop-up message when the user selects an item in the list. So let's first define the message that we want to display to the user. So there will be a string message. At first, it can read okay, for instance. Now let's create the toast message. I'm using the toast class with the make toast static method. I provide the context and then the message to display, which is message. And the third parameter is for how long I want the message to be displayed. I want a short period. And don't forget to call the show method, otherwise nothing will happen. Okay, let's check that this is working. I run on the emulator again. So now when I click on an item, I've got the pop-up message at the bottom of the screen. But now I would like the item picked to appear in the text of the pop-up message. So let's go back to the code in order to add that. So here you see that when an item is clicked and this method is called, I'm given the position of the item which was picked by the user. So I can use this index to find the appropriate message appropriate string in our array of string here. So message will be OK plus the item in adapter animals at position at the index position. Item at position. Okay, and also I don't want to print OK both in French and in English. I want a different text here. So as before, I put my cursor here and then I choose extract string resource. That will be our toast message. That will be the key for our string. And let's edit the strings.xml file. Open the translator. It's open already. Okay, so the text message in English will be you picked such and such animal, and in French that would be vous avez choisi, and followed by the name of the animal. Did I put space character here? Okay, so let's try that. Okay, so when I click on chat, vous avez choisi chat, and let's move to English. When I click on dog, you pick dog. In this video, you've learned how to provide your application in multiple languages. Now, the first thing to do is to separate the definition of your message strings from the structure of your application. To do so, you define a set of keys and values in the strings.xml files. And then you can refer to the strings that you've defined there, either from your XML code using the @string followed by the name of the key, or in your Java code by using r.string. The name of the key. Then you can use the translations editor on the strings.xml file in order to first define additional locale for your application, and then for each string that you've defined, provide a translation. In this video, you've also learned how to provide a list of items to the user. So for that, you can use the list view, which is a container view, and you will use an array adapter to fit the list. So the array adapter will provide both the content of the list by taking it from an array, and it will also provide the layout to be used to render the different items on your list. If you want to react to the selection of an item of the list, then you just need to add an on-item click listener.